All right. Well, now we are going to pick back up with the hallway worksheet. Last time we worked on this side of the wall. We created the brick lines as well as the doors. On this side, we're going to do something different. We're going to start with the brick lines first. So this would be a good review. When we're looking at this side of the wall, we've got to decide how many bricks we're going to have. Now, in this worksheet, you remember that we decided we were going to use 10 bricks on this worksheet just to make it easy for the math. But when you do your real hallway, it's probably going to be more like 12 at a minimum, maybe 14 at a maximum. Most of the hallways in our school are about 12 to 13 bricks high. So to figure out how big each brick is going to be, what do we have to do? Well, we have to measure this distance and divide it by the number of bricks. So when we measure it, it'll be just like what we did over here. We take this length, we put our 0 mark. Remember that 0 mark is that black line on the end of the ruler. Okay, we take that 0 mark and we put it at the very, very bottom of that wall, and then we measure it, and we'll see that it is 4 centimeters. Okay, we're going to have 10 bricks. Well, we could divide 10 into 4, or we could turn the 10 centimeters into millimeters. There's 10 millimeters in every centimeter, so we have 10, 20, 30, 40 millimeters. We divide 40 by 10, we get 4. So every brick is going to be 4 millimeters. So we put our 0 here, and we count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we keep on counting by 1, 2, 3, 4, or we can count by 4s. 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, and it helps to make sure that your eye is directly over the marks that you're making as you make them, and it'll be more precise. Now, if you had some weird, crazy number, let's say it didn't work out perfectly like it did for us. Let's say that for some reason, when you measured this, it was more like 37 millimeters, and you were having to divide 10 bricks into it. Well, when you divide 10 into 37, you're going to get 3.7. That's not a perfect number. So what would you do? I mean, you could try to just round it up to 3, but if you round it up to 3, you have a lot more space. You're going to end up with 12 or 13 bricks over here, and it's not going to match up with this wall. If you round it up to 4, you're going to only end up with probably 8 or 9 bricks instead of 12. Well, what if you do 3.5? Well, every time you have a brick, you're going to have 0.2 millimeters left over. So by the time you pass up a brick, about 5 or 6 bricks, you're going to end up with a millimeter or 2 left over. You're going to have one brick really big. So how would you solve a problem like this? Well, what you would do is you would kind of split the difference. Like your first brick, you would probably make maybe 3.5, and then the next brick 4, then 3.5, 4, 3.5, 4, 3.5, 4, 3.5, 4, and by splitting that little 0.2 of a millimeter every other brick, it's going to spread it out. It's not going to be noticeable, and you'll have probably a good number of bricks. If you'd had some weird number like 6.3, well, then probably what you should have done would be do it like maybe 6, and then 6.5, 6, 6.5, 6, 6.5. So by alternating back and forth, by rounding up or rounding down, you would be able to get the bricks correct. Okay, so. Now we've got the brick lines for here. Now we've got to do the same thing down here at the end of our wall. So we've got to measure this distance and divide it by the same number of bricks that we did here. If we did 10 here, we have to do 10 here. So we turn the paper sideways, and we take a ruler and we measure it. And when we go from line to line, we got about 21.6, which happened to be exactly the same amount here. And that works out that way because our lines go to corners on both sides. Well, that's probably not going to happen on your real hallway, but we'll go ahead and do the easy math for that. We showed you how that happened before. 21.6 centimeters was the same as 216 millimeters. We divide that by 10 and we get back to 21.6, but this time it's millimeters. So it's going to be about 21.5 millimeters every time. So when we do that, we just take our, because 1/10 of a millimeter probably isn't going to make too much of a difference. So this 1 centimeter is 10, this is 20, here's 21, here's 22, so it's going to be in between. 21.5. If we double 21.5, 21.5 plus 21.5 is going to be 43. And so I'm going to slide my ruler down because I don't want to keep on adding. Now you could keep on adding. That'd probably be the best way to do it, but I'm just going to do 21.5. and skip to 43, making sure my eye is over each one of these marks as I make it. Slide my ruler down, 21 and a half, 43, slide it down, 21 and a half, 43, slide my ruler down, and see, like, notice that I've got 42, I don't have 43, but I'll go ahead and do 21 and a half, or I'll just do 21, just to kind of split the difference a little bit to make it less noticeable. So I've got it. Now, I'm not going to connect my brick lines yet, and the reason why I'm not going to connect all my brick lines yet, not all of them, is because I'm going to be putting some stuff in here. So what we're going to do is, let's go ahead and connect our top 3 brick lines, but we're not going to draw any lines in here, and I'll explain why in a minute. So what we're going to do first, we're going to take our top brick line and our top brick line on the end of the hall, the far end, and take it to the one that's closest to us. And we're going to draw a line from here. We're going to skip this space, kind of like what we did with the doorways. Okay, there's one brick line. Take the second one. Now remember, whenever you're doing your math for your bricks, you should always double check and make sure you have the same number of tick marks and the same number of spaces. Because I've seen students many times, I'm just going to do 3. I've seen students many times end up maybe with like 9 tick marks for 10 bricks, but then down here they have 8 tick marks for 9 bricks, and then at the end it doesn't work out and it messes things up. So make sure you always double check. Now remember, the last time we had, in one of our earlier videos, we said that this perfectly goes to the corners. That's just really nice and convenient because it's a worksheet. But remember, you could have a situation where the lines go off the page and you can't measure from here to here because the corner doesn't go there, it goes up here, because you'd be missing like this much of the wall. So what you would have to do is you'd have to drop a temporary line down here. You would measure this line, divide it by the number of bricks, make your tick marks, and then when you take your tick mark and connect it to here, you would just take it through this line and keep on going. You would take it through this line and keep on going, and it would give you the exact angle that you needed. Okay? Now, what we're going to do, we're going to put something in here. We're going to put a set of lockers in here. Now the lockers aren't going to go all the way from here to here. We're going to let some bricks be on the left side of it. We're going to let some bricks be on the right side of it. Now in a lot of your hallways that you're doing for the school hallways, you're probably going to have 3 or 4 sets of lockers going all the way down the hall. You'll probably be lucky to just get 2 or 3 in. You're probably not going to be able to get 4 or 5 sets. But we're just going to make 1 set of lockers right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a vertical line pretty close to the end of the hall, not exactly, but what's going to be really important is taking the end of that ruler and butting it up with either the bottom of the page or with the top of the page. Some of you guys that were doing your perspective boxes, you weren't doing that, and you were getting really crooked lines, and it was throwing everything off. It is just, it's not hard to do, but some people have just a tough time understanding it. You take your ruler, you get it even with the end of your page like this, so it's exactly even. And then before you make any vertical lines, push down, make sure it didn't slide, and then just look at the space. If it looks like it's the same here and here, then you know you're good. We'll draw a vertical line here. That's going to be the end of our lockers. And we're going to make our lockers end, about right here. So we do the same thing again. We take our ruler, we butt it up with the bottom of the page. All right. We check our space from here to here and our space from here to here. It looks straight, looks even. Push down, make sure it didn't slide off the bottom there. It didn't. And we take it and we make that line. Now, what we're going to do before we make the rest of these lockers, we're going to go ahead and fill in these brick lines that are here, here, and here by connecting the rest of the tick marks. Okay? Just like we skipped the doors when we did it, we didn't have to erase the lines out of the doors. We're going to do the same thing here. So we take our ruler, 4th tick mark to the 4th tick mark, make a line. And again, I recommend going really lightly with your pencil pressure when you're doing your real hallway. You can push down hard on this practice sheet if you want to, but it just kind of helps you. If you make a boo-boo or mistake, it's less noticeable if you erase a light pressure pencil line as opposed to a hard pressure pencil line. And notice again how the bricks, how they kind of fan out, like they start up and they go flatter as they come to the middle, and then they start going downward as they go down this direction. Okay, good. Next. Now there are several different hallways in our school, and not all of them are identical. Some of them have different types of doors, some have different types of lockers, and we'll probably talk about that at some point. This worksheet will make things a lot easier for you. You'll have some familiarity with how to go about doing it. So now we've got those brick lines right there. Okay. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and try to put in the vertical lines for the lockers, just like what we did for the ceiling tiles. Remember how the ceiling tiles were really big closer to us, and as they went further down the hallway, they got smaller and smaller? Well, these are going to be small lockers, and these are going to be large lockers. So you can either start small and work your way up large, or work large and work your way back small. I think I'm going to start large and work my way back small. So I'm going to have a locker here, and the next one's got to be about the same size or just a tiny bit smaller. Make sure you butt your ruler up at the bottom. If not, the lockers will look like they're leaning and they'll look kind of funny. Now sometimes when you're doing this, you may have to go back and readjust some of your lines. You may find you went too small too soon. Now of course you could put in a bunch of lines at the end and really make it look like it's a really deep hallway, but you may want to kind of look at what's across the hallway from you, like how thick is the door compared to the lockers. That might help make up your mind. Let's put in one or two more. Let's put in one more right here. All right. And it looks like they're going from larger to smaller and kind of gradually. So that's a pretty good step. Okay. Now, before we go into anything really complicated, let's go ahead and take a little bit of a break. We'll come back in, and then we will finish up this brick wall, and these lockers, and all the things that are inside of it.